Hi, this is TapCat. Welcome to part 16 of Let's Play Banished. I'm going to start things off by increasing the limit of how much firewood we make before our woodcutter knocks off. It's too late to really have it affect this year, but it occurs to me that if we go into the winter with more firewood, it'll just be, like a more consistent way to supply the wood with just one guy working on it. Now, another thing we're going to do is put this fish back in the main pool of food because I notice we're getting a little low. Likewise, we have quite a bit of venison, so I want to bring some more over. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to try to free up a couple of laborers, and I also want to explain how this installment of the series is going to differ from any of the ones that have come before it. I'm actually recording this commentary after the fact. I played without, recording any audio other than the game itself. And the reason I'm doing that is, as you know if you've been watching, the number of adults we have to act as workers has dropped lately, and it's making it very difficult for me to, gather enough resources to keep building the town. Stone and iron in particular, and even food is a little bit of a problem, or at least tying up as many people as it takes to get food is a problem. Now, I am going to go ahead and start building a house to further spur population growth, as well as to make the stone production more effective in the quarry. But what the town needs right now is time. Time to let the children and the students grow up into laborers, time to have more kids, time to gather stone and iron and all of these things. I'm not going to undertake any major building initiatives as far as big new structures necessarily, although actually there are some things that come up that, you'll see. But those are sort of offshoots of this process that I'm trying to, put in place, which is getting the town growing again. So, there is some hope. If you see, we're still in the high 20s as far as our adult workers go. And we do have a number of students and even more younger children coming up behind them. So what I do periodically is, you can see I'm checking the food levels. One of the things that I would like to be able to do is move any excess venison in particular over to the trading post. Now, why do I want venison in particular? Because unlike most food that only trades for one value each, venison trades for 3. Now, it won't buy me everything that you can buy, but it will buy things like seeds most of the time. Now, this was a rare exception where we're offered pecan seeds, and he'll only take things like tools and clothing. And so we didn't have enough to do that, so I just sent the merchant away. Most of the people who sell seeds will actually take food. So that was a bit of an unlucky break. But then again, we don't really have the manpower to work a new field. Now you can see we're trying to gather all of the iron that's over here. We got pretty short on that resource, and I want a lot of iron because I want the blacksmith to make a lot of tools. I also wish there was a way to accelerate the leather because that would allow me to make more clothes. Those are the two things that we have the best chance of being able to buy farm animals with. Now, you saw I was looking at that orchard, and it seems kind of sparse. I'm almost wondering if we need to chop those trees down and start it over. That's a severe step because we would be without plums for probably 4 years if I did it. But at some point, I may do something like that if it seems like we're not getting good production out of the field. Now, as you can see, even speeding this up, getting that iron is taking a long time. We don't have that many workers, and it's very far away. I seriously considered making a, what do you call it? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the spot where you dump things like iron and logs and stuff. I thought about building one down there, which would make harvesting it much quicker. But then every time we built something, or the blacksmith needed iron or something, they would have to go all the way down there. So I felt like better to pay the price in that time all at once while we're trying to gather it and just let that take time, rather than have it continue to be a drag forever, as long as we have that iron at the other drop point or whatever it's called. Now I also really want to start getting more stone, and so I start to gather that as well. Now I want to go ahead and start production of ale again. I don't necessarily remember to do this all of the time, but whenever plums or something we can make ale from becomes available, like at harvest time, I am going to try and fire that up again. I don't know how big a factor it is in determining the happiness of your townsfolk, but you know, I think it doesn't hurt to put that into the mix whenever I can. So taking a look at how the harvesting, or the bridge building rather, is going, it's winter and that's far away, so not really shocking that it didn't get finished yet. So this is actually kind of hard to follow even for me because of the accelerated clock. Basically, I'm just checking on a lot of things. One thing I wanted to check here was where the woodcutter lived in comparison to working, and that was actually very close. I didn't have any complaints about that. And really, a lot of the time, like, you can't just set this game and walk away, but I really am just sort of, you know, trying to bide my time and let this slow process of organic growth continue. I mean, we're going to harvest stone because we need stone. I mean, you think about it, if I build a house, then I need stone. One of the things we're going to do a little bit later is build more stone roads, because there's so many workers who walk these roads all the time, and that stone helps them get there a lot faster. Now here, I just want to make a quick note. I'm moving more stuff into the trading post. Anytime we get more tools or more coats that I can move over, I'm really happy to do that. So I keep playing this game too, where like I staff up the trading post and then I try to remember to, you know, turn the guy into a laborer until I need him again. But probably about half the time I forget that I need to do that. So there you see the blacksmith. He's still working, but we need to make a lot more tools. Unfortunately, I keep running out of leather, so I have to lay off the tailor. If I had my way, I would just keep the tailor working all the time. I went ahead and started up now because we have some, but it never lasts long. The bridge, frustratingly, still not done, but I'm kind of used to that, and I kind of expected it, building something this far out. You know, it just kind of is what it is. And this is my first look at building stone roads. And I decide we have so many people over here, and every time they have to bring the goods, the food, whatever, the wood, they have to walk across that road, and it's fairly long. So that's why I decided to build that one first. And I'm just kind of checking these homes to see, you know, whether they're well occupied, whether people are having kids and all that crap. And again, I'm going to raise the woodcutter's limit a little bit. I would really like to get through winters with just no worries whatsoever about firewood, and that's something we've never really done. We've been okay. It's not like it's been a big problem. So my bridge is done, which is nice. So I go ahead and I mark that stone for harvesting. I am prepared to play the long game. Now, this merchant brought more seeds for beans in this case. I am going to buy those. Absolutely. And then while we're at it, I'm perfectly happy to buy, you know, this wheat and pepper as well. Now, unfortunately, it's not wheat seeds, so it's just a one-time thing. But, you know, I've said many times, food variety is supposed to be good for your population. And I'm perfectly happy anytime we get the chance to boost that, even if it is only temporary. So I try to reset my inventory levels so that I don't completely wipe the warehouse out of venison. That's an easy mistake to make, by the way, because when you set a goal of, like, let's say 1,000 venison, if you trade 800 away, your target is still 1,000. It doesn't adjust for what you traded. So they'll try and go to the warehouse or the storage barn and take the whole 800 that you traded away. So you have to lower your goal inventory unless you have a lot of whatever it is just sitting in your storage barn. Now, as you can see while I was talking, I painted more areas with the stone road. I'm really trying to build that out. My thought was, once we gather all that stone that I've highlighted, I want to put some of it to work here. And if we can make every one of our workers more productive, that's totally worth it. It's a fine line I try to walk between using stone to build more houses when I think we need one, and using it for these roads. And also, frankly, just letting it build up. Like, we're up over 200 stone now. I am not unhappy about that. You know, there's a lot of places we could use stone if I had the manpower and, you know, we were ready to do it. So we will need hundreds and hundreds of stone before the end of this game. And again, I'm just kind of checking on things here. It looks like scanning around to see what's what. Nothing really too specific, I don't think. I wanted to check one more time to see if we had any venison we could move over, but we really didn't have a lot extra. So I did nothing. Now, I'm realizing we got these new seeds and I don't have a place to put them. So I start looking for the way to demolish this pasture that I built a very long time ago and have never been able to put to use. Also, I see now, but I didn't see at the time, it's already early spring, now it's spring, and I have not increased the number of farmers. I often lower it during winter to use them for other purposes. And yeah, there I go. And I forgot to reset it. So some of the early planting season was lost while I was worried about how to demolish this stupid pasture, which, by the way, I did finally work out. Now, why am I demolishing the pasture? One, because we don't have any farm animals. And two, because I need to plant these bean seeds somewhere. And that's as good a spot as any. We already have a lot of farmers in that area. So I thought it was logical. And it is a reasonably large size, you know, flat land area, which we don't have a ton of that isn't already developed. So there, I'm trying to map out the field, and now I've done it. It's just a tiny bit bigger than the other two. and it doesn't take long for it to be ready. Now here I make a critical mistake because I started to select beans, and then I was worried that they might plant in early summer. Yeah, that merchant I don't think brought a lot. So anyway, yeah, I decided to wait until spring, and then I would go ahead and select beans. Now, as you'll see, that was a mistake. Also notice that even though I selected the road just north of the bridge for stone roads quite some time ago, that still hasn't been built. This is very common for some reason. I haven't quite worked out why. When I ask them to make a road into a stone road, they just don't do it. You see, that one hadn't been touched either. And I don't know why. One thing I did is I went ahead and changed one laborer to a builder. Even though the thing still says like 0 of 0 builders, which would indicate you don't need a builder to do this stone road. In the past, whenever I've tried just turning one of the laborers into a builder, it seems like it kind of gives the system a little bit of a boot in the butt, and they actually finally start building that road. Whether that's a coincidence or whether it is in fact a real, factor, I will often try that in desperation because I get tired of waiting like 2 years for people to build a stone road. And it actually seems to be working because now I am seeing actual stone on the ground. So again, is it a coincidence or is it a thing? I don't know. So once again, it's winter. That orchard is looking like hell, I must say. Oh, no, that's not the orchard. That's just trees. I decided to go ahead and build another stone house. I haven't done that in quite a while. And, I don't want to wait too long. I want to make sure we keep forming new households, having new children. That's a big part of what we're trying to accomplish in this installment. We need to grow our population. And notice that even though we built the town hall, and the idea was that would open us up to nomads, you notice you haven't seen any. It's not exactly like they came calling right away. And not to do any spoilers, but I will tell you this little secret. You won't see any this entire episode. Now, for all I know, maybe they'll arrive 20 seconds after I start recording part 16. But, yeah, no sign of them so far. Now, I'm seriously thinking about adding more food production. And so I was looking at putting a hunting cabin in a couple of different spots. Up here, we only have a forester. In the end, I decided to do a gatherer's hut instead. I kind of wanted to do the hunter because it would give us more leather as well as venison, which is both lead to more trade value. But I went with the gatherer's hut just because it gives us more food variety. Now, I'm actually not sure that was the right call, but that is what I did, So now it's early spring, and if I'm not mistaken, I still have yet to make the bean field a bean field. And so, huge miss there. I've let probably at least 2 seasons worth of growing pass me by, 2 years, if you know what I mean. Because I just got absorbed doing other things and wasn't paying attention to it. And I can't blame that on me running the game at 5 times speed. This was really just a case of me not paying attention to something I should have been paying attention to. If I remember correctly, I'm going to figure that out in just a little while. But yeah, up to this point, I was still clueless, even though you did briefly see that field on screen a minute ago. And it had the little stop sign indicating that it hadn't been picked. So now I've used up a fair amount of stone. I'm back into the low 100s, although that's still not bad. And I set up more for harvesting. One thing I should point out, by the way, is our population has definitely grown. Our workers are up to, a total of 34. That's definitely better. Yeah, there we go. I finally figured out that I wasn't growing beans. And they won't plant them this late. They'll do that next time. But what I was going to say is that, yeah, we started off with like 44 total citizens. That's for all ages. And now we're up around 60. So I had been concerned that, we were stagnant, but we really aren't anymore. And if you look, like, we have a very healthy number of children and a decent number of students who are in the process of growing to adulthood. Now, it does put a strain on my food production when you have this many young people in the civilization, for sure, in the town, because they're eating, but, they're not working. So that is a thing you have to be careful and manage. Note the stone roads, by the way, are finally in place. But yeah, overall, I actually am really pleased. I wish we had more iron than we do, but we're back. We're climbing up again in stone, and we have built some new homes. We've grown the population a lot, and these roads will help make people more productive for the rest of the game. For however long we play, these stone roads will help them get from point A to point B a lot faster. I actually stripped the quarry down to nothing because I wanted to go gather that iron. We need that. Now, here we have an opportunity for chickens. And I admit I would have rather had lambs, or sheep rather, but I want to buy as many of these chickens as I possibly can. The one thing that is nice about chickens is you can say, well, it's only food, because you don't get leather to help you make clothes, and you don't get wool to make warm clothes. But what you get is eggs and chicken meat, so it's a double source of food. So, unfortunately, here again, he won't take the venison. We have to trade him the hide coats and the iron tools. Now, I do the deal for as much as I can, and then I want to bring over more. I'm going to buy more chickens if I can. So I have the trader bring over as much as, I think we can spare from the storage barn. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough to buy 2 more chickens. I can only buy 1. So I believe that was a total of 5. But you know what? That's 5 more than we had. It is enough that you can start breeding them. And by and large, I'm pretty okay with that. Now, the thing is, we have to build a pasture to keep these in. And I decided to build the biggest one the game would let me. Now, I have to admit, with hindsight, it's possible I went a little bit overboard, particularly for animals as small as chickens, because one this size will hold a lot of them. Whereas maybe for cattle, it might have made more sense, but whatever, I did what I did, and if it ends up being an issue, we can always build a smaller pasture later and then move these there. But for right now, I certainly do not intend to do that. Now, we're coming up on the last few minutes of this installment, and I would like to ask you whether you like this format, don't like this format. In general, I do intend to do live commentary as opposed to, this recording it after the fact. But I just don't want this series to, slow down to such a point that it's just ridiculous, where virtually nothing at all is happening. Here I noticed somebody was freezing, by the way, and I realized it's because we hadn't made clothes in a while, and also because I had taken literally all of the coats out of the storage barn. They were all in the trading post. So I fire up production again, and put the desired inventory at 0 for the coats. And that'll make some available immediately. But anyway, yeah, if you could let me know in the comments whether you're okay with this kind of thing as at least occasionally, just to help move this process along. Or, maybe you don't care how many installments of just me sitting here watching people gather stone we sit through. Honestly, I don't know how many I want to record that are like that, though. So, there's that. But at any rate, in the meantime, I don't know if you caught the quick glimpse. There's my bean field in all its glory. It has been planted, and that was rather nice. I bring over more venison. I got to restock because, man, we got wiped out from some of these trades we made. But the good thing is, we've really picked up some new food sources, right? We got beans, we got chicken, we got eggs. Okay, we're not getting the chicken and eggs immediately, but yeah, now the pasture is done and we've staffed it up, and it's actually pretty cute. The chickens literally walk over. If you look in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, you can see them. And they just walk over to the pasture and take up residence. This thing will hold 53 chickens. So, man, we will have eggs coming out the yin-yang. But that's okay. I decided at this point to go ahead and build another house. And with that, we're pretty much done for this installment. So thank you for watching. I hope we see you next time.